It is the Friday night. We are in the Red Lion. We are in association with Erdinger. We are all about Jurgen Klopp. There was a Friday night done last night. John Milburn was on it. It was all right, wasn't it?
I think so, yeah.
And yet it'll never see the light of day. It was meant to come out at noon, and matters arose.
Things happened.
Things happened. Yeah, it's been quite a day. Been a long day. I've got Craig Hannan here. He's without microphone at the minute. I've got Phil Blundell. I've got John Milburn. We are going to go through your points as they come in, but we are going to start off on John. I've got to be careful because I just worry that you end up sort of sounding unbelievably maudlin. But it's absolutely perfectly reasonable to say it's been a deeply emotional day, and it's full of highs and lows, and you're shocked because it's come from nowhere, and you love the man, and he's been responsible for so many fantastic times. And I was beginning to think he would be responsible for loads more. I still think he's got a few in his locker, but loads more. And then today unfolds the way in which it does.
Yeah, I think it was completely unexpected. We've all been completely blindsided by it, and my phone from like whenever it was 10:30 this morning,
10:40, 10:45.
It was just constant notification, and it felt like I'm a 50-year-old man, right? So I feel a bit silly saying this, but it felt like almost like a grief, like somebody had died, and my initial reaction was incredibly visceral, and I did feel a bit bleak and a bit desperate, and you race ahead in your mind to all like the possible scenarios, and they all sounded fucking shit, to be honest with you. Every one of them didn't like feel great, and then everybody's catastrophizing online, and my mates are all panicking, and we're all looking for answers. And often what happens in these circumstances, we all look for like the most simple explanation, or maybe based on things that like we've read online. There was a very, very recent conversation about a documentary, for example. It's fucking ridiculous. There's no way on earth Liverpool Football Club have allowed Jurgen Klopp to leave over a decision over a documentary. But then if you watch the interview the manager's given today, it's incredibly human account of kind of his decision-making process. And I think he... I felt very, very warm towards him watching him do it. I could empathise with like some of the decisions, and kind of he's just the best of us in terms of. I don't think he would have even countenanced the idea of checking his own energy levels as he described it, and then decided to take a break in a circumstance where Liverpool were really, really in the shit. He's got to a situation, he called it getting back on the rails, I think is how he described it.
Really on the rails, yeah. Things like that.
We are more than on the rails, mate. We're on the fucking march. We're top of the league. We're in the finals of the League Cup, well placed in the FA Cup, and we're probably favourites or second favourites to win the Europa League. So like we've got a squad that's continually surprising all of us. You know what I mean? We're a bit of a low key injury crisis this season, and like Conor Bradley's absolutely like reincarnated.
We've got better whilst having an injury crisis.
Yeah, we've been more consistent through an injury crisis than we've been with a full squad. So like I think we're in rude health, and that's thanks to this manager. When you listen to him talk about it, he talks about, I'm not that important. I'm struggling to get with that reality at the moment, Jurgen. He feels like pretty fundamental to it all. But you believe him, and he's like one of the most authentic people that I've ever come across. And I'm watching it, and I want it to be true. I really want it to be true. But we all know, like, grief hits you in waves and in stages. It was funny, I was saying to Neil before, my brother said it's like being shot, but you don't realise you've been shot. In movies when people don't realise I've been shot, but they can't feel it yet because of all the adrenaline. And then like 2 hours later, I'm like starting to feel the pain and noticing that I'm losing a bit of blood here, and now I'm just starting to panic. And like it's I know it's extremely dramatic language, but like I'm old enough to remember when Bob Paisley resigned from Liverpool. Certainly remember Kenny Dalglish resigning from Liverpool. Didn't feel like this to me. I am a little bit too old to remember Shankly resigning, but we've all too young. We've all seen the video, haven't we? Like,
all right, Phil, don't be Phil.
Hey, I was just trying to help him out.
I know you made me very Phil about the Enterprise. That one.
But like, we've all seen that video, and
the kids, yeah.
We would. I imagine if there was a Vox Pops done in Liverpool today, at 11 o'clock this morning, they would have got very, very similar reactions. Nobody would have believed what the news and you're having me on, aren't you? Would have been the shout. So it's been a really, really tough day. I've been trying to cancel meetings most of the day because and unsuccessfully, by the way. I had to get through a tough day in work, and people who are not that into football trying to engage with me on the subject is probably one of my absolute kryptonites, really. Me trying to have conversations about football.
The gobshites, aren't they?
People who aren't really into football, and you can see them laughing and thinking it's like mildly amusing, is not great.
But what's dead interesting, Phil, and I genuinely, so Sky News, not Sky Sports News, Sky News carried his press conference at 3 p.m. live because they got me to do something.
Because Sky Sports News didn't.
Well, they got me to do something immediately afterwards on it, and that's why I was literally watching it through them as they got me on the Zoom. And one of the things that sort of hit me, and I had a good interview actually, it was great, the fella who asked the questions, they were really good questions. But one of the things that hit me is the extent to which he is just about the game's most culturally nationwide resonant figure. At the minute, I can't think, unless something disastrous or awful or really sad happens, I really struggle to imagine sort of because by really sad, I mean, I understand that people are sad, but I mean literally like loss of life territory of sad. Yeah. I struggle to sort of imagine anything that will get comparative coverage to Sky News basically at 3 o'clock going, we're putting this on for 40 minutes and then we're getting some gobshite from an office in Liverpool on to talk about it for 10 minutes, and he's got jokes, by the way, but you know, for me that's the, and I did
jokes and shirts.
Yeah, jokes and shirts. I'm glad I've dressed today.
And glasses.
Title of his sex tape.
It's an accident that I've dressed today, but I have. There is with it, Phil. Like, I think that's a missed thing. He is a national figure, and then every now and again you get a reminder he's a national figure. And today is one of those days that he is a national figure in terms of who he is and what he's been about and the way he communicates.
I think you forget he's the second longest serving manager of the 92 Football League clubs. I think there's only the Harrogate manager who's been there longer, which is a bit mad. I think that's right.
Of the fact that
I wasn't looking at you for confirmation. I was just saying it, and I'm saying I think that's right.
On the Harrogate lad there.
I don't know his
sure
name.
Harrogate? What about
if there's any consolation, I don't know his name.
What about Scarborough's manager?
Yeah, you sort of that's a big thing because it means that he's been at the forefront of English football for such a long time, and him moving on is a big thing. I've been on quite the journey myself today. My first thought was, mad how Paul Joyce's Twitter's been hacked. That was about, I think it was 10:38, and I look at it and I'm like, what's happened there? Does he know? Has he not got that dual authentication on?
I watched the video and went deep fake, and I went, deep fake and they've hacked Liverpool. That's fucking good work.
Fair play to them. These crypto lads can do anything. They can do anything. But then you watch the press conference and it's a bit like, okay, I can the fella could tell me anything, to be honest. He could tell me literally anything, and I'd just go, all right, yeah, fair enough. And there was a line that really stood out for me, and it was about he'd been in meetings, and he said, I'd usually be at the forefront of the meetings, I'd be leading them, I'd be the one who bounces in them, and I was sort of taking a back seat. And then I was like, this isn't me anymore. And I'm sort of like, well, good on him for making the decision in a way, because there's a lot of people who wouldn't be self-aware enough to do that. They just go, I'm a Liverpool manager, I'm just going to do this forever, and they don't realise that. And there's a lot to be said for this. Like, you know, I want Jurgen Klopp to manage Liverpool forever. He can stay as long as he wants, but at the same time, if you're not getting 100% of him, which by his own admission you're not, then you've got to just go, fair play. And I've gone from the position of, as I say, I've been on a massive journey today, and I'm now sort of like, if this is what's best for you, then ultimately it's probably what's best for everyone, because we don't want to watch this unfold negatively, do we?
He said something along the lines of, you'd rather have decided and you think it's like a little bit early rather than you decide when you think it's a little bit late. And he knows his own capability better than anybody. But we have had situations in the past, and Kenny's a good example, isn't he, where like Kenny couldn't see a way out from where he was, and Kenny made the decision to go, and arguably maybe with a bit of distance and a bit of time, maybe Kenny could have gone again sooner than he did. And obviously he did it at Newcastle, he did it Blackburn, didn't he, and took Blackburn on relatively good few years, still 3 or 4 years, still yeah, so still a good few years later. But like, I'm sure every route to get in Jurgen to take a sabbatical or whatever it might. I reckon that's all been explored because he said I think he realised he was infallible. He couldn't be sacked.
Well, it was always like,
if he was going to get sacked, it would have been last year.
It was also the bit when someone asked him, I can't remember, I think it was Andy Hunter from The Guardian who went, is there anything that make you do like a Ferguson, change your mind? And he said no before he'd even finished the question. And that, to me, it was like, okay, he's clearly great. I think last season not just last season, the seasons before that as well, because it was 2 COVID seasons before that. And then obviously there was a season when we played every single game, I think bar what, a couple of FA Cup replays. That can't be good for you. Yeah. Then you go from that into last season, which was miserable, and we all felt it was miserable. And you're telling me you go back 12 months pretty much to the day. I think we play Brighton in the Cup this weekend. We've just drawn with Chelsea in one of the most miserable 0-0s you've ever seen. You can't be saying that he's not affected by that in the same way we were. So, like, there's part of me that almost thinks like he stayed a year longer than he almost could have done in a way, and he's just gone about, I'm not leaving it like that. And the positive is that he's left us in a position now where he can go out and go, look what I've left here. And I think that's what he's always wanted, and it feels like a bit of a natural thing, because this is, with a couple of exceptions, it's a pretty young, vibrant side that's got a lot going for it, and it just needs to be handed to the right person. I will come on to that at another point, and this is more about him than that, but it's the mark of what he's left. You look at the club he inherited and the club he's left, it's night and day, just complete night and day. Like, you look at that first 11 and you're looking at it and it's like, obviously there's barely any of, there's none of the players. There's only really Joe Gomez who's still here, isn't there? And he was injured at that point. Everybody else is gone. But even then, you're looking at it and like, there's a lot of players who you're just like, they're nowhere near it now. They weren't even near it at the time. If we're being perfectly honest, there's a lot of those players you're looking at. It's like, oh, you're all right, but I'd rather you didn't play. And the position we're in, like, he's transformed the club in a way that Shankly did. I mean, I know he wasn't as low as Shankly was, and he's not taken over in the second division, and he's not had to get us promoted and stuff. But it's a similar thing in terms of distance from the top, because you go back, the distance from where we were to the top was probably different, and it was easier to do. We went from a European final from the second division to the European final in 6 years, then, didn't we? Which is not what we're doing now. But it sort of means it's different, isn't it? And he just left us in such a good position, and that's what we want almost.
But you mentioned Shankly, like the thing that, I mean, I was devastated whenever I first heard about it, and I felt like one of the kids in that Shankly video, because I come out of a meeting and saw someone WhatsApp me saying "mate Klopp" in capital letters, and I thought he was going to say he'd signed a new contract, and then I went into the rest of my WhatsApps and saw what happened. I think, like, on Shankly, like, when you grow up and you read about the glory days, and you read about a Liverpool team winning titles and being in finals season after season, and you think of that as being the glory days, but actually what Jurgen did was brought the glory days into the present. And I mean, now I'm obviously, like, devastated. I'm really sad, but the stage of grief I'm in is, well, let's just go and fucking win as much as we can over the next 4 months. And Jurgen loves talking about collecting moments, doesn't he? And there's plenty of moments that we can collect here, and that's where I'm at the moment. I feel excitement about what's possibly next, because I feel like now the players will want to do it for him. This will be my big thing all day. The fans will do absolutely everything, and it's a real opportunity to. I mean, football probably doesn't care too much for fairy tales sometimes and fairy tale endings, but even the possibility of being able to get a parade at the end of the season because we've won something that is not just a parade that celebrates what we've won, it's celebrating the 8 or 9 years that we've had together with Klopp. I think that'll be such, like, a special moment. So he, as a manager, he's given us, and when he came, he gave me hope, and then he gave us wins. And then he gave us moments and trips and experiences, and then he gave us the big one, and then he gave us more silverware. And so as a football manager, he's given me absolutely everything. And, like, when he came in, if you said to us, right, write down all of the things that you hope you get from this manager, and then they said to you, right, here's all the things he gives you, you'd go, beating Man United 5-0 at Old Trafford, beating them 7-0 at Anfield, your goalkeeper scoring a goal and getting you into the Champions League and right at the death. There's so many of these things that weren't in the history books, and Klopp went, have that. That's a special thing. So, like, I mean, he's my hero. We as Liverpool fans put him on such a pedestal, don't we? Or Liverpool managers on such a pedestal. And it feels great to have my own one that I get to put in a pedestal forever, so that I'm the old boring man in the pub talking about my Shankly. I'm talking about Jurgen Klopp back in the day. And at this stage, I just feel so lucky that we've all got to live that. We've all got to live those sort of experiences. Those that have been lucky enough to be to the games, to be at those moments. And we've got plenty of them more to come.
Whatever you want to do.
I've got a bit melancholy looking.
We'll tell you what, we'll all compose ourselves. We're going to go to a break. We're here with Erdinger. We're in the red line. The reason why it's quiet behind us is because they're keeping people. They were meant to open this place up at 6 o'clock. And they said, no, you want to do this. We'll make sure it's quiet behind you. So it's rammed downstairs in the red line, to be crystal clear. At some point, people might come back up. We're here with Erdinger. It is the Friday night. It is the Anfield Wrap. There's so much that you can get into with everything that we've done today. So much to get through. We're going to have a bit of a rotation here. Get your comments in. Get your questions in. We'll begin to do them in part 2. Back in a second.
And Erdinger, please.
Stop! Don't forget the best bit.
We're back. I've got Fuad there. I've got John there. Sam's knocking around. Ash is looking after bits and pieces for us. I've got John Milburn. I've got Phil Blundell. I've got Craig Hannan. We're going to move it around. John, you should go and get some Erdinger in, mate. It's the fucking business. Yeah. You just saw it. So it's all right. He's shouting off camera. The Erdinger is coming. Feel free to get a full round for everyone, because God knows we're not going anywhere anytime soon. We're going to push it all the way through.
It's like a wake, this, isn't it?
No. It's really important.
We're all drinking to him.
No, it's really important. We shouldn't be. And I don't think... No, I know you're just joking, but there's loads of people who are dead sad, and John's talked about being dead sad. And I understand being dead sad, Phil, because he's been such a presence as a Liverpool manager. But the job is, and what he wants is, but you don't need to be sad anymore. You don't need to be scared anymore. I did something today, and I keep measuring myself when I get upset, because I've had 3 cries today, and I've managed to have none of them on air, on anything, which, by the way, feels like a massive achievement. But
were one of them whenever you were writing the rundown?
Yeah,
I could hear you crying, but I didn't want to say. I thought you should have. I thought you should have that moment.
No.
You didn't want to say anything, mate. He needs the hug, Craig. Come on.
We give each other a hug. The first time we saw each other, we just give each other a hug.
Yeah, we had a big hug. We had a big hug when you walked in.
Don't get that when you make a moment when you live.
And I wrote the rundown. No, I wrote the rundown. That was one of my cries. One of my cries was writing the rundown. And but the point of it is that what he wanted and what he wants, Phil, all the way through, is not to be scared anymore. I think about that period, sort of 2014, 2015, and what it was like going the match, and then what happens with the West Brom game. And part of what he was saying was like people getting off at the end against Crystal Palace and all of that. And part of what he was about was, what are you just fucking scared of? It's a game of football. Why are you weird? When will this stop? You're being really weird about a game of football. And I think that, for me, the big deal is what I want. And there's people coming through in the comments, and there's people doing it all day. And obviously change is always a bit scary. But I think the biggest thing about him is, don't be fucking scared. It's a game. And we're going to do it really well as long as we do it together and with care and with affection and with love. That's what he's about. That's what he wants. That's what he's been saying all the way through. And that's what he's saying about the next 4 months, by the way. Don't be fucking scared, because there's no point being scared. You just play to the best of your ability and see what happens.
Yeah, like, while obviously this was unexpected, it was also expected, because whilst you weren't expecting to wake up when you woke up this morning, you weren't going to go, well, today I'm going to find out Jurgen Klopp's leaving Liverpool.
I said it wasn't time to have a fry up in the slaughterhouse at 11:30 until this all kicked in.
It's a
but
blow,
it didn't happen at all.
Have you eaten otherwise?
I've had one sandwich, and I could really do with a meal of food.
Come on.
I'm on 5 Live in about 50 minutes.
Yeah, but you went a meal of food. It's an interesting turn of phrase, isn't it? A meal of food.
Like, you weren't expected to wake up this morning and find this news out. But when you woke up this morning, you knew that at some point in the next few years, Jurgen Klopp was not going to be Liverpool manager. Like, we're all of an age where we know that Jurgen Klopp is not going to be Liverpool manager for the rest of our lives, unless something fucking terrible happens. But we were going to be in a position where we're going to watch other Liverpool managers.
If we don't make it to the end of it, mate, he's
something to look forward to, John.
He's a Liverpool manager for the rest of your life, mate.
Fucking hell. Yeah, but so you knew. So there's nothing to be scared of because you knew it was coming. It's just the unexpected nature of it, and that's why it's a bit. I expected it to happen in a way. I didn't expect it to happen today, but I've sort of got over it. Probably quicker than a lot of other people, I think. Not in a sort of, I'm get rid of him, I don't care, but almost like, right, well, that's what he wants, and that's the key thing here. This is it's what he wants to do, and I would rather he leaves the club in a position where it's what he wants to do. Like, if we go back to last January, and he says, I'm staying till the end of the season, I'm like, to be honest, mate, you may as well just get off now. And that's testament to what he's done over the summer.
We know you've got a brick on a piece of rope swinging where everyone else's heart is. So
this really isn't true.
So you were like mega rational when I saw you anyway, and I'm still not ready for rationality.
What do you think of his brick? He's on a piece of rope. What is it?
So
his brick with a piece of rope,
just like
pumice stone,
just swinging in his rib cage.
Pumice stone in a nan shower.
My heart's like a cuckoo clock. Just like that, not a cuckoo clock.
Let's
a
mention
fucking swinging clock.
Let's get on to cuckoo clock. No, but
fuck him.
Well, one for the teenagers. No, but I forgot what I was going to say then. No, but I think like in terms of the humanity of it all, I've thought a few times, and like again, things get announced, and we all. We take the bits of the announcement that that suit our narrative. One of the things I thought was really interesting is that his son had a baby last year, and so like Jurgen Klopp and Ulla have become grandparents for the first time, and their grandchild, I don't know if it's a boy or a girl, lives in Germany, and so he's got all the money in the world, but how much time does he get to spend with his grandchild? And I suppose when things are really tough, and he's a man who commits to his job in the way that he does, and it's a pretty full-on job. We've seen the Liverpool job literally almost kill managers before, and I suppose having a grandchild is one of the things that might make him reevaluate what's important. He's not.
This is sort of what I mean in terms of everything about him since he's come here is about being human. And humanising everything, like the way he talks to people, the way he gets the best out of everyone. He treats people like they're not like there's football managers who treat people like they're robots, and they're just like, you're gonna go out there, you're gonna play football, you're gonna do this, you're gonna do that, you're gonna do the other. He's about emotion. He's about caring about people. He's about what's in their best interest. He's about getting the best out of them by relating to them. So when he makes this decision, that's sort of what I mean. I know you've only messed about the thing, but it's sort of there's a lot of emotion to this, and the emotion about it is what makes him and is what made him him. And I think that's why I'm sort of a bit like, I
think in a really simplistic way, he's kind of saying, I've done this for nearly 9 years. It's a long time. My family have come with me. My family have supported me, and Ula's like Scouse Queen and all the rest of it. Have I got another 5-6 years in me? Almost certainly not. And what's the cost of doing that? And if the cost of that is not seeing my grandson or granddaughter, whatever it is, maybe that's just not enough for him. And maybe he'll take a year, maybe he'll take 6 months and realise that just being a granddad's not enough for him, and he wants to do some other things. But I think he wants to know that for himself, with the certainty and the comfort that he's got to make that decision, rather than look back and say, well, I don't know because I never tried it, and that was the thing that came out of his the interview we did with the club today, where I came away going, yeah, I completely get it, and I like the fact that he's decided he's not got the energy to necessarily do like what it would take. We're in year one of a new evolution of a team, and let's say any team's got a 3-4 year life cycle.
This sounds a bit mad, but if you take the emotion out of him and you take the energy out of him, he's not the same manager.
No,
he's not the same person.
And I think the very fact that he's able to leave on his terms is because, I mean, I was just thinking, there's no manager in my lifetime at Liverpool that's been able to do that. You know, where it's an end that they decide on, where at the end of, you know, the book, as he's called it, like, you know, you get to sort of look back at all of these things, and, you know, after what he's given us, like, for him to then be able to get that, like, feels good. You know, I obviously don't want him to come. I'm absolutely devastated to leave. I'm completely devastated by it, but you know, for it to end on his terms feels really, really nice.
I need the loo, so I'm going to invite John or Fuad to take my place. Big question for the audience. There's going to be another part to the documentary.
Well, do you know what? We were Do you know what I was thinking about the documentary today because I was thinking about the part at the end.
Didn't go around the back, did he?
I was thinking about the
about.
fifth part, and it's called The Legacy. And in that, when you're watching that,
John
you're
goes round
listening
the back
to
like a pro.
Yeah, no, you're listening to the Dortmund fans and you're listening to the Mainz fans talk about what it was like when Jurgen leaves. And one of them.
if you've not seen it,
Spoiler.
If you've not seen it,
and so I think. Since and Fuad's here, so we can tell him to his face. But since I've watched that, I've had it.
I don't like you for once.
I've had it taken. I've had it.
His mum absorbs a lot of our content.
I'll tell him to his face.
I've had a ticking clock of dread in my head since I watched that because the man's talking about Dortmund and he says, about Mainz. And he essentially looks at Fuad in the background and says, and things were never the same again. And that's like, and since that I've thought about that and I've been like, Jesus, when that day comes, like you see the moment when he's giving it to the cop at Dortmund and it's his last day, and I'm looking at that thinking like this would be awful. But actually, now that this has all happened, there's a part of me that's like, really, really excited to sort of like share that with him in a very, very strange way, and for it to be in the way that he's wanted, as I said at the beginning, and hopefully to be in a way that, my God, if Liverpool win the Premier League, like it means so much more, doesn't it? It's not just about winning the league anymore. It's about winning the league for Klopp, and it's about winning the league with Klopp, with fans in the stadium. If he manages to do it with trophies and a parade, then it feels like it's a sort of a fairy tale that we've got over the past 8 years, finished in the right way. So fingers crossed.
Quick point of order, by the way. There's no winning the league means more with or without Klopp for me. Like genuinely, they just win the fucking league, they win the league. I want to be really, and this is a really important point, I think, in terms of moving forward, in that there's loads of things about him that I absolutely love and adore, but all the league wins are equal. And there's because we haven't got enough of them to fucking start prioritising them in the last 30, 40 years.
I agree from our point of view, but do you not think the players are going to see that slightly differently? Like, I think from the point of view of the players now, I think this prop might get an extra 5% out of them in terms of how they approach
maybe, but
this.
I think there's also the possibility that they get sort of chewed up with the emotion of it all. I don't think that's the case. We've got to allow
but yeah, you're right. It's a possibility. I'm just not sure that's quite how it happens.
My position is just much more that listen, there's no bad league win.
No, I don't mean that. But if we win the league at the end of the year, I'm going to ask you immediately after it. What about this league win versus the one that was the first after 30 years? I'll be interested to see what you think of that.
Well, but also part of why I will rate this year's league win more is because I've been able to hug you and have a pint with you.
Yeah, exactly. Well, let's win it first.
Exactly.
And also, we haven't won our previous 14 games in the previous season.
Yeah.
This is the unexpected nature of this.
Yeah, that, but also just in general, that's the way in which it goes. John, you've had a hell of a day. It's not gone the way any of us expected. Full stop. And this is one of the oddities of this. That's the one. We'll take that one there. All the Erdinger is ongoing. I'll go and get some more in a second. There is something with it, John, though, where it has been such an act of devotion from him to us. That's why I think it kills, is because he's wanted this for the people of Liverpool so much. And when I say the people of Liverpool, I mean that genuine in a worldwide setting. Everything he's been about has been, how do I make the highest number of people as happy as humanly possible? And he's added to the highest number of people because more and more people have supported Liverpool because of someone like Jurgen Klopp. And that's why today it stings, it hurts, because he's wanted so much happiness and so much joy. We've just got to give him some more, and he's got to give us some more, and it all works that way.
Yeah, you feel like from the start it's been very like a mutual kind of, not sort of loving, but a mutual kind of situation where we've both fed off each other, like supporter base and Jurgen, and there's been a thing with Klopp where he's given everything he can and he's got more from us, and that's powered Jurgen, and sort of vice versa really, and we've both put each other onto sort of better things. Like there's a lot of talk about atmosphere and things like that. I think most of the best atmospheres I've ever known from Anfield have been on sort of under Jurgen, and listen, there were some great ones before them. I remember the 13-14 season, and those league games and that run in, how sort of great it was. Obviously there was European nights under Rafa and stuff like that, but for consistent like crowds, being incredible and changing games. Like it's been on this sort of Jurgen for me, and I think like he feels like. I think he's got much more into it, and I think it's felt bigger for him than even it was at sort of Dortmund and Mainz and stuff like that. I think like when he looks back at his career, you know, and people say what was the you know, the big time, the pivotal time, he'll say like Liverpool, that was the fun, you know, not forget everything else, that's rude, but like, you know, Liverpool was like
football miracles on a weekly basis, season after season.
He might even quote that. He might even quote that, and I think like, you know, it has been an incredible ride, and that's partly why it's sort of, you know, he wanted to stay on a little bit longer, but also partly why I think why, you know, it has taken so much out of him really, and why he feels like I just can't go again because I know how intense this needs to be for it to work, and that's another thing. Like, I'm sure he'd love to coast to a league title, but he just knows, you know, that's not going to happen, and City won't allow it. You know, the Premier League situation won't allow it, and it's almost impossible, really. So it's surreal. It's such a surreal day, but you know, grateful. I was on the radio with some Ted before, and he was like, "Oh, I was part of you a little bit angry," and I was just like. It's like angry. I know he was the weird, aren't they? Some of these people.
They ask weird questions.
I think so. And I was just, but I was just like, I can't imagine ever being angry. Yeah, I'm not Ian. If that's your question. You know, but it's like yeah, you just can't imagine ever being. It's like being angry with the Easter Bunny. Do you know what I mean? It's like how could you be? He's fucking bossy, he brings you eggs.
But yeah, I mean, I might meant to follow that line. But you know what? That they don't understand though. They don't understand because he's not theirs. Do you know what I mean? And I feel like, you know, throughout the years at different times when it took a few years to win something, when we were getting beaten finals, when, you know, he stood in front of the Kop with against West Brom. You know, you'd have opposition teams and supporters.
By the way, that's an early go for the round.
He just fucking loves earning it. But you know,
love saying on your own to the bar, mate.
You know, when he was doing these things, like these were part of his sort of strategy and his plan for us, and you know, whenever he was losing the finals, you know, particularly the Europa League one, when people were taking the piss, opposition fans taking the piss, you know, he's lost his second final, he's only been here 6 months, he's lost the ones at Dortmund, and Klopp afterwards is talking to his team and he's telling them like, this is only the beginning. Yeah, this is only the beginning. And I think, like, you know, so opposition fans at different times have tried to poke fun, and it's only really when it's the first one, the big one, you know, it's because he's not theirs, and they've not got to experience that, and they've not got to like sort of enjoy those moments together, and, you know, feel sort of how much he's meant to us on a deeper level than silverware. And I know that's, you know, if Twitter hears that, they'll be like, football's all about trophies, but actually it's about like the shared experiences, about the emotion. That's how he talks about it so much.
He's done both, by the way.
I know. I know he has, but you know what I mean in terms of he should have won more trophies. We'll see this season. By the way, we'll see at the end of this season. But I just feel as if he's understood us on a very, very deep level. And in turn, we've both been able to benefit from like such enjoyment from football that goes deeper than silverware. Of course, we've got the trophies and so on, but like my favourite times under Jurgen Klopp are, you know, some of the trips that I've got to do because he's manager and he's took this team to far off places. You know, rather than it was winning a League Cup. You know, it's just not about that to me. So, you know, he's sort of given us everything in that regard.
Yeah, I seen a tweet from a Spurs fan I know before, and he sort of said like it feels like Jurgen Klopp was replacing holes in a lot of people's lives, and it's like I think you've missed the point here in terms of it's not about, you know, filling holes in people's lives. It's just because it's making them better. Like, because you sort of think about what football was for a long period before Jurgen Klopp came in. Like, you know, we have it. Football's all relative, and I never really like it when people go, I can't believe this club are complaining about this club would love to be that club, because that's just not how it works, is it? Like, Liverpool coming 7th and going, this is bad, is not ungrateful because Barnsley would quite like to come 7th in the Premier League. It's just not how it works. Everything's relative. And what we had was we had the European Cup, which was fucking brilliant. We had the League Challenge in 08-09.
Harrogate top places with us, you reckon?
Oh God. we had a League Challenge in 13-14. But other than that, it was not you weren't emotionally like, fucking hell, this is great. This is what I want to be in football for. This is what I want. This is what my enjoyment is. And then he came in, and within what 9 months we're in a European final. Within what 2.5 years we're in a European Cup final. Within 3.5 years we get 97 points, nearly winning the league. 4.5 years we're winning the league. Everything has just been incredible, and I can't, like, the level of job that he has done is unreal. When you break it down, it's unreal, because this Liverpool team was, I think you made this point when you were on something before, and it was about Liverpool didn't regularly finish. I think it was Sky News. Liverpool regularly didn't finish in the Champions League, and I think we played in the Champions League in 14-15 and 09-10. And that was that.
Very short.
That was that
campaign,
for the last
by the way,
6 years. Yeah, exactly. But that was that for the last 6 years before he came in. That was that. That was what our Champions League pedigree was. And now we're a regular champion. Well, I know we're not at this season, but you know what I mean.
It's an aberration.
We're at the top table of football, and if you say who are the biggest clubs in the world, we were a big club in name only, whereas now we're a big presence, and he has put us there. He's put us there. I honestly,
somebody stop him.
We've all got 6 each here. It's quite the night. He's banging into this partnership, isn't he?
I think he's just banging the beers, I'll be honest. Oh, what did you spend on?
Lads, we've made a profit on this partnership, you know.
I think there was.
So I tell this story quite a lot, so apologies if people have heard me say this before, but like,
not that one.
No, but I remember like very vividly where I was when Klopp was playing. Klopp was the manager of Dortmund.
I was gonna say, you haven't been playing.
No, when the and I always forget the Spanish teams, Malaga or Seville.
Malaga, yeah, I remember this.
And they were they scored very late to go through in the Champions League, and the players ran the length of the pitch and scaled the fences and were trying to get into their end to try and commune with their own fans. And like, it was at a time where it was 2011, 2012-ish time, at a time where we weren't having that, to be fair, and we weren't having the best of times. And one of the things that would frustrate me, I'm stood there on the cop as like a bit of a needy gobshite, and Steven Gerrard, our captain, who I love as a player, by the way, but like the final whistle blow, he'd stay in the centre circle, he'd wave, and then he'd go down the tunnel. And obviously, Klopp brings them all now, and they come down our end, and they appease the neediness in people like me. But I remember like saying, look how connected those players are to those fans, and this manager's made that happen. I wanted that, I craved that, and I needed that, and I didn't quite know how you get there, but Jurgen Klopp knew how you got there, and like we all know, like famously, there was the West Brom game, there was the reaction to the Crystal Palace game, and after he called the fan base out, people like literally were too scared to leave early because he told us we shouldn't leave early. And then when we did stay till the end and we got a draw, albeit against West Brom, he came and they rewarded us and said, like, we appreciate you, you appreciate us, and that trust and that symbiosis built over time, and it's led to, like, as I say, I've been going that ground a long time, and all of the best nights I can remember are under Jurgen Klopp. The Barcelona, the Dortmund, all of these nights we've had under Jurgen Klopp. We got to 3 European Cup finals with him. You know what I mean, World Club Championships.
3 European Cup finals is insane, by the way.
Exactly. How many managers go to 3 European Cup finals? You could
how many clubs? Never mind managers. Clubs.
It's absolutely insane.
I think Manchester United have been in 4, 5. Manchester United have been in 5. Manchester United have been in 5, and Jurgen Klopp's been in 3.
And I think the other thing that I think is like sometimes we've been there before, obviously under Rafa, and Rafa got us to 2 and 3 seasons. And I suppose there were periods where maybe in 2008 where we were giving United a really good run for the money. I never quite felt under that period we were the best team in the world. We were punching, weren't we? We were out punching our capability, and we were challenging some of the big boys, and we were winning some of the big trophies. But Jurgen Klopp has legitimately taken us from being not even European Champions League qualifiers on a regular basis to being regular finalists, winners, league winners, and then champions of the fucking world. In about 5 years, it's fucking insane.
We're effectively where Tottenham are now to like the best team in the world in about 5 years. Like there's a thing I think Josh Williams pointed something out before, and I think it's the most forgotten thing possibly in football history. Liverpool at one stage it crosses 2 seasons, so it's a bit
over a 38 period basically.
But out of 108 points, which is 36 games, Liverpool won 35 and drew 1. Like
I remember that.
That's insane. Like that's like the type of thing that you basically tell people just is physically impossible. You sort of like, you can win every game. You can't win every game. You can't get 114 points. Like there's a joke at the start of the season. Oh yeah, I've just seen the fixtures and please to announce Liverpool are going to add 114 points this season, but it's tongue in cheek because you know it's not possible. And then 36 games out of you win 35.
If it happened on like Ted Lasso or you read it in a fictional football book, you'd be like, "This is shite. That's never happening in real life."
Just,
wouldn't
like,
you?
I can't. Like when I think back, I sort of think we used to go to the match just to win every week. We went the match from basically. It was after. I think the last one was. I think we played Everton, didn't we, at the start of March 2018? No, 2019. Fulham? Was it Fulham? But we won that one though, didn't we? That's the first one. I meant sort of in terms of we draw at Everton, and then we fast forward to when football shuts down for COVID, which is March the year after. We win every game by Manchester United away. It's insane.
Even the season before that, when when we get sort of pipped, I remember doing the getting asked to do the Jurgen documentary, and we were filming in Pins just around the corner, and Fuad said, I'm going to ask you about this season and this season. And so I just looked at the fixtures just to refresh my memory, and I was just looking at all the fixtures and the results, and it's just win. And it's just, when you look at it like that, as a series of, and you just win it. And then there's one draw against Everton away, and we were all like, I remember at the time being like, oh no! Do you know what I mean? It was like, and that's how it felt, because like what City were doing, but like I was like, imagine winning all those games, then drawing one and going, oh, it's fucking hell, it's the end of the world. Like, it's just like crazy what he was able to do. Do you want to come back in now?
I was just about to say,
Come on, Phil. Is it you on here?
I was literally about to...
Take your pint, Phil. Take your pint with you.
Again,
Somebody at all. Has anyone asked any questions from the phone?
No, I put my best man on it.
I think while you're...
Fucking sold them out there, didn't you?
You know what? The delegation was very, very clear where responsibility starts and then
Just while you're looking for questions, I was going to get you some time. I was just going to say one of the things that I always think about Jurgen is like the profound impact that he has on people, and like in a business or in a football club specifically, usually you hear the players talk about like what the manager's giving them, but actually like if you went and spoke to staff at LFC, for instance, that are the dinner ladies or the people that work on LFC TV or wherever, they'd all have a story that like Jurgen's impacted them, and it might be because of their career, because it helps sort of elevate their own work, because of the work he's done on the pitch. It might just be how
to make that show, because people have said that to me who work there, like how much their job has changed since Jurgen got it, and I'd love it if they could somehow tell that story on LFC TV. I know it's not as easy. Well, yeah. I know it's not always as easy to do that, but I'd love to, because people have said it to me like privately, and I spoke a little bit like this about this on our audio show in a bit more detail, one of our many audio shows we put out today, but people said to me privately like how much their job satisfaction and everything's been elevated by when Jurgen Klopp walked in the door, just because he was like, right, we're all together now.
Yeah.
We're all everyone in this building right now Yeah,
And that's
together.
because,
and if you don't know what he does, you're stopping us.
yeah, and that's because he's like obviously an incredible leader, but then you see like him as an incredible person. So the thing that stuck out in the 30-minute video he did today was he mentions the young Irish kid that he does the video with, where he says I'm gonna have to call him and explain why. And I just thought there is no manager.
I hope he goes, it's not good enough, Jurgen. What you on about? You signed the contract.
You big fridge. Yeah.
It's no pressure there, but it's on you.
Yeah, go on, Tim. Any hopes?
Sort it out.
I think that's like, isn't that incredibly powerful? That like in his finish, like there'll be people all over the world, like news agencies watching this, going, "Who's Dara?" and so like he's had this impact. Obviously, the fans and what he's given the fans, all the things I talked about earlier, like the trips away and the experiences, like with things like that. When you think about it, like there's people that have visited cities and countries all over the world because of they follow a football team that they never would have got to reach or go to, and that's
gone to Kiev on our own,
no, and so that's because of what he's given us, and like I always remember Jamie Webster in the Jurgen documentary. He says basically something along the lines of that, like what he's realised is that actually he's a musician now in his own right, who with top albums that have reached the charts and all of that, but he knows that really, like, if it weren't for Jurgen, he probably wouldn't have gotten there, because Jurgen delivers them a European Cup final, and the knock-on effects are that there's a fan park in Kiev, and then Webster plays that, and then he gets Madrid, and like I was even thinking about that, like with the Anfield Wrap, there's so much that
Jamie
we've been
gets
able
signed
to do.
on the back of the Madrid gig. I was with Jamie today in a mad coincidence. Like, wasn't supposed. Well, I mean, it was supposed.
You were supposed to be.
That was meant to happen. This fucking wasn't. So we're doing a big push for Jamie's new album. Pre-order it now, and we're helping sort of towards that, and just being with Jamie. And Jamie tells the story on this video that we're going to be doing, putting together, and that basically, he goes, he does Madrid, goes over and the people who organise it involved in Modern Sky, and then afterwards text them, say like, let's put an album together, and that happens at the back of Madrid, which is a final that Jurgen Klopp's done. But Jamie knows all this. He's put something brilliant on Instagram.
There's and even like his first album, I remember during the pandemic, Jurgen does a video, and I'm sure it goes up on LFC. With the album, because he understands that like this like connection between the fans and the team and the manager that he's helped sort of embed within the football club. He knows the power of it, and he knows that Jamie in turn, he has Jamie to thank in terms of some of the atmospheres and the songs and the fan park and what that does for cup finals and so on. He understands all of that, and so I just think, like, if you think about him as a brilliant manager, we know that he's a brilliant leader because of what you see, but then he's an incredible person that understands and has helped and has impacted so many people. Even you think about the Anfield Wrap, some of the things that we've got to do are because of the success that Jurgen has brought to the football club.
So I've got a question here that I want to do. I'll do a few questions as we go through, but loads of them have been covered, by the way, what people have asked as people have talked. Har Velocity, though, says this. Can you say what's your favourite moments of Klopp? I'll go to John Gibbons first.
It's like a live show, this, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it is actually a live show.
Favourite?
Whatever it can be. It can be anything, really. Like, I know what mine is, but...
Can I have two?
Yeah, go on.
So there's a self-indulgent one and there's a less self-indulgent one. So for me, when it always says like your best club moments, the thing that always jumps out to me is the Dortmund game, because that was the real, like, here we go. So obviously when he comes in is incredible and his impact, and you're starting to see signs, but Dortmund at home, when they're just well better than us, and then we somehow all together turn it around and win, and Dejan Lovren of all people scores the winner, and that's like the first time. So I think we're really onto something here. This is what this is going to look like, and everyone sees the players, the manager, the fans. The fact that it's against Dortmund as well feels quite symbolic.
It's huge. It's against Dortmund.
I think as well, because they can't cope with our atmosphere, and he's helped create this Dortmund atmosphere, but it's just different.
Ours is much more aggressive. It's not. Yeah. It's not everyone's having a fucking nice time, a nice song. It's like, you live with this.
Yeah, and so that for me is my defining what I jumped to in my head when, even before the others, the lads might say so, won't say, but like even before the others, the one that I jumped to is that Dortmund game, because that was like the real, like, it wasn't the start, because obviously the start's when he walks in, but that was the real, like, when when Usain Bolt just takes off in the 100 meters, like it's a level for the bit and then it's not. That was that moment for me where you just go, and like, this is what it's going to look like. This is going to be great. Strap yourself in. And then the slightly self-indulgent one was funny. Like, I mean, we've been lucky enough to be in his company sort of quite a number of times, really, and you almost struggle to sort of remember them all. That's how sort of fortunate we've been, but. We're in a little WhatsApp group from the summer, aren't we, from Singapore, and like today, like Sean O'Donnell from Boss is thrown in and saying, "Oh, we'll always have that night," and the night was when we sort of basically bunked into a bit of a LFC staff night out, really, and Jurgen turned up to it. But as soon as he saw us, he made a beeline for us, and it was the day that Craig had spoke to him at the press conference, and he basically had more to say. And like, didn't want to, like, some of it wasn't like relevant to the press conference, some of it wasn't like, he wants to be brief for a variety of reasons in those, but like, he was like, right, let's really get into your documentary that you did. And I just wish Fuad was there, because he's the director, he's sat there now, but I wish he'd one of the things we said was, we were like, straight after, we were like, I wish everyone would have been here to hear that, and you're pissed trying to remember it all so you can like tell the stories, but him talking about the documentary and how much it meant to him, and I've thought a lot about that today, because it's quite poignant now, isn't it? Because he talks about, he kept saying to us, when I'm older, me and my family are going to sit down and watch this and remember like everything, and I've thought about it a lot today, because obviously now he's saying like he might not manage again, and that's his expectation, is that he probably get roped into something, but like
I like the roped in element.
Yeah, basically, yeah. But at the moment, like, that might be it, and so like
American football, fuck me.
Because when he was saying that to us, I was thinking, fucking hell. I was thinking of it like 20 years' time, do you know what I mean? But like, really, like, he was maybe thinking sort of less.
He was maybe thinking in a few years.
Yeah.
Right,
and so I'm thinking now, like, I've been thinking about it all day, and what he said, and him telling all the stories about all the people he met in the documentary, and saying like, oh, that guy, and we were like, yeah, he was like, oh, you should meet his brother, he's fucking crazy, and all this, all this kind of stuff, and we were just like, it was just like a real amazing moment, and I've thought about it a lot today, because like, you want to know that, like, he knows how grateful we all are, and that was a little way, I think, of the Anfield Wrap saying like, this is how grateful we all are as sort of Liverpool fans, really. So I like the idea, although it's come a bit sooner than what we wanted, of him sort of sitting back and watching that, and watching the Liverpool stuff and thinking, yeah, that was boss, because it was.
You next, and then Milburn.
I mean, that was like the best moment of my life, probably. I'll be honest, like, it was him sitting down with a beer and like a ciggy and just like chatting to us about how much.
We should do a podcast on that with Sean and Cleo.
Yeah, and like,
Sean was pissed, but
Sean was. Sean
Uncle Armour faces all over the gap.
Getting stuck into the free alcohol, not realising the manager was going to come. And just like, yeah, there was a moment where Sean went over to him and was like trying to talk to him, but it wasn't making much sense. And then I said to Jurgen, I was like, he's like one of the lads that like, started Boss Night. And as soon as he heard that, he turned to Sean and was like, thank you so much, and all of that. And it was just like, it's like incredible that, as soon as he was able to hear one.
Sean was speechless, which was a relief for everyone.
There was actually a moment.
Glorious.
There was a moment where there was actually a moment where we all got a picture, and then we started. Yeah, so we got the picture, and then right at the end of the picture, I realised that in the live picture, Klopp puts his hands up and goes like this, and then I swiped right. And it was, I've got a video on my phone of us all dancing on like a sort of dance floor with Klopp. And the reason was because at the moment that whoever had taken the picture, the DJ had come on, and the first tune they played was "Gimme, Gimme, Gimme" by ABBA, and the chorus had just hit. So the minute the picture gets taken, Klopp's like starts to dance. So on my phone, I've got this video of me, you, Sean, Keo all dancing with Jurgen on like a dance floor, and that's like the the thing that you sort of they say you never meet your heroes, don't you? And like, what you realise with him is like that's a lie. Like, he's everything you'd want him to be and more, because at the end of the day, he's a normal fella who likes a pint. You know, you hear the stories from the players that he likes to party after the, you know, he loves enjoyment, whether that's within football or celebrating after football. So I mean, yeah, that one's my one. I actually we saw him at an event years ago, and I was a lot more pissed at that one, and a lot of people were sort of hassling, and we sort of decided to stay away. And then someone said, "Do you want to go over and say hello to him?" It's actually the one that you'll see on Twitter quite a bit, where he's again dancing on a dance floor. And I went over and introduced myself, and he said, "Oh, the Anfield Wrap. You know, I watch the videos on YouTube. So if you're watching, Jurgen," he goes, I watch the videos on YouTube."
He's not going to get this far in. He can't be asked. Long this, you know, lads. Long.
But
He hasn't got the energy levels anymore for this.
But he said,
He's been very clear on the matter. The energy levels. He's talked about the energy levels.
What's fucked them?
but he said,
Basically got after that half an hour post-match bite he did after Bournemouth.
I saw that. Well, some of it.
I haven't got this in me anymore.
No man's getting this.
Fucking hand that off to Xabi Alonso.
but he said, "Oh, from the Anfield Wrap," he said, "I love to watch the videos. I don't subscribe though." And I was pissed. And what I should have said was, you know, we'll sort you with a subscription. You'll be able to get podcast videos, blah, blah, blah. I just turned around to him and went, "Lad, it's only £7." and he just did his big laugh, because he's the best fella in the world. And I think, like, you know, the only thing I've got to say, really, Jurgen, if you're listening, fucking subscribe. There's some big shows coming up over the next 3 more months. Collect them more moments together.
None of these are my moments, John, in terms of my favourite Jurgen Klopp moments, Milburn. My attitude towards it is my favourite moments are the ones where he just gets to feel as though he's alive and he's involved and he's 100% there, and you know, they're the ones where he ends up on the pitch at the end of games or all of that sort of stuff. I love the fact that he's got into the fist bumps in a big way. Like, I love that he wants to be part of the whole thing, and he wants to go to the Kop. He doesn't want a song sung. What he wants instead is to give it the big one.
Mess with that, like.
By the way, he's fucked now. But he wants to give it the big one at the end of the game.
None of my anecdotes involve going on the air with Jurgen. You'd be amazed to hear.
Still time.
yeah, exactly. That's my mission between now and the end of fucking June, by the way. Me and him are going out on the pot with Johnny M. It's happening. It's going to be live streamed on YouTube.
Why is that little fella keep making puns?
Not bringing that cunt. No, but like one of my favourite things I've been involved in with the Anfield Wrap is the Miracles thing, and the Miracles thing is absolutely a pure exaltation of.
Fine, we'll put them out again.
No, honestly, it's the thing that kind of is the purest embodiment of what Jurgen Klopp has brought to the experience. Yeah.
Sounds unreasonable to me, Craig.
We're going to have to move to Teddy's because it's going till 4 a.m.
Sorry, mate.
No, it's the embodiment of the joy and the fucking ridiculous things that this manager's given us to experience. And like Neil's right that I don't think he's that into his name being sung, but he's really bang into running on the pitch when we score against Everton and the Divock Origi goal, and he's running on. He's basically he's hugging the life out of Alisson Becker. So like the whole thing is like I've said a few times, I want to get a QR code tattooed on my leg and put on my gravestone so that my great grandkids can listen back to the times that Jurgen Klopp gave me and how their great granddad enjoyed them, basically. But
he had the time of his life.
He was having the time of his life with this manager, and it's well worth listening back to listen to a life lived fully. But I think like if you're going to pick up like the original question was about a moment, wasn't it? And like I don't think, and it's sad to think you've already peaked in your life like already. I don't think the night against Barcelona will ever be beaten. In
loads of ways it can't be. I mean, like, the sheer way the sport works.
Exactly, the parameters of sport were absolutely bent beyond their will that night. So the fact that like you had the night before where Vincent Kompany scores that goal at like the most improbable of goal. It effectively ends our title challenge that night. And you can imagine the mood in the camp. You've got Mohamed Salah nursing a head injury that he's not unable to play for. Firmino was injured as well, wasn't he? We were missing. So the infamous front three were unavailable to play in that game. We were 3-0 down against a Barcelona team that included obviously the Poison Dwarf, but also one of the best Liverpool players that I'd seen prior to the Jurgen Klopp era in Luis Suarez, Philippe Coutinho, and a few others, Iniesta, etc. And so you're like, fucking hell. We went to that game out of duty rather than any expectation, and to get there and to hear the crowd and the belief in the crowd that we could do something against these people. And like, I think Suarez half turned up thinking, I used to play here, I can get these on my side, and he was booed at the kickoff. As soon as he touched the ball at the kickoff, we absolutely gave him it with both battles, and that was it. That was a team and a night that will never be forgotten. And obviously, what happens, happens. The miracle isn't that we scored 4 goals against Barcelona, by the way. The miracle is that we scored 4 goals against Barcelona and didn't concede. And like, it was an absolute object lesson in it was a perfect night from a football perspective, and so Jurgen Klopp orchestrated it.
Got Phil idea. Pass all the microphones across one. So you take that one, you take this one, and I'll hand you this one in a second. Phil, you made the documentary around you. You did 5 episodes of it. Someone else is going to come and sit here in a second.
I think we are going to have to finish.
Are we going to have to finish?
Yeah, there was someone who works here, lawyer, and go.
Any hopes?
Got a business to run.
Okay, then we'll just finish instead.
No. Let's Fuad.
Let Fuad, and then John, you can sum it all up because I've got to go and do 5 live in terms of us all finishing and going from there. So
Neil promised the lads we're not going till 7 o'clock.
And now here we find ourselves. So, I know.
He specifically said we're not going to be going till 7. Don't be so.
But the whole thing's a fucking love song. Do you know what I mean? It's that's what the whole thing's about. The whole thing's about how wonderful this man is.
No, everyone's been sound, but they were just a bit like.
Yeah, no, I'm sure they have been absolutely sound today. I would never think otherwise. But Phil, I'll hand it over to you. But for me, the whole thing's been a love song. The man's astonishing. He's amazing, and what he wants. And I loved how directly he talked about love in his statements today. To me, that's part of what he's about. Fuad. He's about understanding what love is. That, as far as he's concerned, this has been an act of love. It's been an act of kindness. It's been an act of care. He talks in a way that for a man who's sort of 6'3" and bearded and unbelievably German, he's got this sort of thing about him, which is, it's mad that he can sort of flip the coin and go, okay, now we're going to talk about this soft stuff. It's not soft stuff. It's the real deal. Part of why he does what he does is because he loves what he does. I will leave you to all of these now. I've got to go and do 5 live. Here's Fuad and the boys.
I'll be quick, I promise.
You don't have to be.
Yeah, the documentary's obviously been like the thing I've been thinking about today. Actually, it's sort of more the process of it, and the people you kind of met along the way, and like the thing that kind of sticks out really is like we talk to people in Mainz, in Glatten, in Dortmund, and Frankfurt.
Me letting you down with translators.
No, well, your help still, John. Like that's Jurgen as a man, as a football coach, all these things, you know, at a complete different stage of his life to the one we get here. You know, he's kind of been through all those experiences, and we had a moment in Mainz. It's a bit of a spoiler for anyone who hasn't seen the final episode, but you know, everyone in Germany, you know, the way they talk about him, there isn't that mystique really with him, which is nice. It sort of just brings him down.
Kloppo.
Yeah, he's Kloppo, and it's sort of like, well, that's just what he does. There isn't this big, exactly. I mean, the amount of people that basically said that in German is quite interesting. But there was only sort of one moment where someone kind of lost it a bit, and it was the stadium announcer at Mainz. And just when he started, when we were asking about him leaving and that whole kind of day and what followed over there, it was one of those moments where, you know, he's an older man now and he's kind of seen it all, but for him to have felt that connection with someone who was quite raw then, you know, obviously he keeps those traits now, but he was a very different person back in those days. He was a young manager. To have sort of made an impact on the stadium announcer like he did, and, you know, just watching him kind of recall that day, recall the events of that day, and he was trying to hold back the tears, and he just couldn't after a certain point. And to me, that was just like, you know, you got to be special, don't you, to sort of bring a human who you probably don't interact with that much. You know, you're not his boss. You're not having a day-to-day relationship with like that. at that stage of your life, when you're figuring it out yourself, I think that just shows how special he is, like Craig said, just as a human being. So yeah, I'm going to go with that just because there's too many football ones to pick, John. There are so many to pick that I can't, Old Trafford sticks out to me because, I saw Liverpool managers just giving it the big one right in front of us in the away end at Old Trafford on the pitch. A place where I've always feared. I've just grown up with terrible memories, to be honest, of watching any Liverpool football game at that place, bar a couple, and he just owned it. It was his turf for that for that 90 minutes and beyond.
How do you feel about Jurgen Klopp sitting around with his family in 5 years' time and watching your video, film?
Well, our film. No, I feel that's really. It's a really nice sort of thought. It's exactly what it was about, and the fact that he said those things. When we talked about doing it, it was about something he would be, proud of. It wasn't a thing to invade into his private life, his personal life. That was never the point.
Wasn't a gotcha expose, was it?
No.
It was like
There was no Beadle.
Which, I'll be honest, some people in Germany didn't catch on to early on, so that was a bit of an obstacle. But I think once people saw that we were sound and we weren't there for the wrong reasons, it's nice to see the initial thing you think about when an idea is, it's like infancy, kind of come out the way you intended it to in that way. And I wanted him to be proud of it. I wanted it to be a gift to him, really, as much as it is kind of for us to watch and to remember. And it's been nice. I was looking at some of the comments earlier, and the amount of people in Germany that have seemed to caught onto it now, more recently, is really nice because they're all sort of reminiscing. And I think it's nice, seeing other people at other clubs, have the same experiences in some way, that same kind of emotional feeling that you feel connected to, and for him to see that is amazing because we owe him a lot.
I had a one-to-one with my boss this afternoon, who's a Dortmund fan, and I was saying to him I'm not sure I'm ready for last game of the season. And I think back and seeing the footage of what happened at Dortmund, he said, forget Dortmund, remember what happened at Mainz kind of thing. But he couldn't hold himself together at Mainz. He had the sense when he came to Dortmund, he did a recorded announcement of his departure because he's such a human being. And imagine Jurgen Klopp, is he 56?
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
He's in one of the most cutthroat industries in the world, isn't he, basically, where it's the absolute meritocracy in terms of performance, is absolutely everything. And you go to Germany and you're interviewing dozens of people who've come across him in his career, and you can't find a single person who's got not even he was a bit of a knob this day. Everything is he doesn't appear to have encountered anyone in the career he's had who've got a bad word to say about him. Imagine getting to his stage in life in the most cutthroat of industries that he works in, the success that he's had, and he's done it without anyone calling him a cunt. I mean,
you haven't spoken to the referees here, John. Paul Tierney's not been on.
Maybe we're selective about who we spoke to, but
You might just suplex one of them pricks before the end of the season. Now he knows he's on his way out.
Imagine we get Tierney last game of the season,
so when he
just decides to bingo him.
Yeah, 1 second. It's a very quick one. When he took over, there was a lad I worked with who supported Dortmund, and he used to go to the match. And he went, "I'm so unbelievably jealous of you because you get to live this from the start." And now we're at the end, and I see exactly why he said that to me.
It's been quite the adventure. Thank you, Jurgen Klopp. Hope you enjoyed the documentary. If you'd have told me 2 or 3 years ago that the man who will make the definitive documentary on Jurgen Klopp was the man who was...
Salzburg! That's a good one.
There's so many stories I could do, but the one I'm going to do was the man who was so hungover in Porto he produced Talking Reds lying on the floor. Outside, lying on the floor.
We were all different men back then.
But it just shows the Jurgen Klopp makes us all better. Up the Reds. Thank you, Jurgen.